If you've ever started your trading day rocking to the slow, calming jams of Indian music in the background, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Live Trading. I am your host, Ryan Faluna, and I am here with Zunaid. We have the start of a lot of earnings stuff. We've got the Fed tomorrow, lot to get to. Let's roll.
Welcome to Benzinga Live Trading.
Let's see if this actually kind of comes back.
Way out of control, got way too high.
All right. Hey, I will take that. I will absolutely take that.
All right. Hello and happy Tuesday, folks. Welcome. It is Tuesday, right? Yes. Welcome to another episode of Live Trading. Got a lot to get through here today. 13 is still on his much-earned vacation, but do not fear. That means we bring in the options trading ace, Zunaid. Zunaid, how are you doing here Tuesday morning?
I am doing great. Without the Indian music, do I hit the unlike button? Yeah, you should. Look, you should put on some Indian music.
You don't ever hit the unlike button. All I'm trying to do is give you yet another reason, a new reason every day to hit that like and subscribe.
There you go.
Because we're awesome. And full context there, Zunaid was playing something nice in the back, and I asked him what it was, and he told me that that's what it was. So it was so good, it earned an opener this morning.
I appreciate it. Yeah, you got to get the juices flowing. But no, man, we've got some exciting earnings coming up. You've got, what is it, AMD, Meta, then you've got Apple on August 1st as well. So it's gonna be a fun time. Especially in the I think we're gonna have Chris Capri on later on as well to talk some options and how he might want to play some of the earnings that are happening as well. And of course, speaking of earnings, don't forget we will have earnings previews today as well. So let me take a quick little look here. What we got?
I think it's AMD, Starbucks, and Microsoft. I think you got AMD and Starbucks at 5, and then Microsoft at 5:30. So we're actually going to be playing those calls, right, Zunaid, on our YouTube show?
Yep, absolutely. So I'm going to actually go ahead and post the links here in the chat for you. I almost posted the StreamYard links. Feehan would have killed me if I did that. But yeah, we'll get you those.
We don't need anyone to expire here today, Zunaid. So let's not make a mistake that's going to result in you getting murked.
We won't. But all right, you want to start things off, and then I can take your follow after.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to do the same thing that we did yesterday. And I'll be honest, on the SPY here, really, literally nothing changed from yesterday to today. We are in the exact same area that I kind of set you up for yesterday. We're holding the trend line and the 50-day moving average, but we are also staying under 547. And in fact, let's get a 15-minute chart here where it's going to be a little bit easier to see. Right in here, right? Okay, this 547 area right in here, we are staying under it. So we are actually compressing here. You got a nice... if you take a look, let's zoom in a little bit more here. We're actually kind of compressing right in this area. So I expect us to break out of here pretty soon. The question really is going to be in what direction. And I think it's going to be this week that's going to tell us. Tons of earnings coming up here. We had some this morning. I know PayPal was this morning. We'll definitely take a look at that. Take a look at all of the stocks that reported earnings here today. And then we've got a whole bunch coming tonight and the rest of the week, culminating with Thursday and as well as the Fed. So I really think we're going to break out, but so far, or break out or break down from this area we're in, but so far, nothing has changed. We're literally in the same spot that we're in yesterday. So once again, going to be paying attention to where does the candle close, not necessarily concerned with what it does too much intraday, unless it actually gives us a trading opportunity, then that's something we might want to take advantage of. But otherwise, as far as the SPY goes, I want to be examining where that candle closes and what might be next coming up here. Did you have any thoughts on the SPY that you wanted to get out there before I roll through some of those movers?
I got thoughts on the ES, but you're good. I can scroll back.
Okay, we'll do that in a sec. Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and run through the movers then. First one here is going to be IMNN. You can see here, huge pop. We're up 200+%. Catalyst here, Immunion shares are trading higher after the company announced top-line results from its phase 2 Ovation 2 study. The results showed a 11.1 month improvement in median overall survival compared to standard of care from intent to treat population. Now, I believe this was on, let me see what this was a cancer Yes, ovarian cancer. Wanted to make sure I got that correct. Ovarian cancer treatment here. We're getting almost a full year of life expectancy from this data here. Generally speaking, pretty good. The one thing that we take a look at here, if I look at the balance sheet here, it's got $2 million in cash. And if I look at the cash flow statement, it burns almost $6 million in cash a quarter. So one of the things that this tells me here is that something's got to happen for the cash position on this company. That being said, I think an offering is probably around the corner here. Just kind of, it's not a stock that I follow in depth, but just kind of looking where we're at here. I would imagine that this would have to go to phase 3. You're going to need more money for that trial. They don't have a lot of cash as it is, and they're actually burning through cash right now. So I would imagine they'd need some type of cash infusion here, and an offering seems about right. So if you're going to trade this here today, just kind of keep that in mind. This is not something that I would hold overnight. We may get a setup here intraday. Smoke tuna, bonjour. If you're not too preoccupied with the Olympics, hopefully you're going to be watching some of these stocks and giving us those crispy entries that you are so well known for. Who knows? IMNN might be one of those. Next stock here on the list is going to be PCSA. Now, I feel like we've traded this one before here in this show, but I can't place exactly what day it is. If you look at the daily chart, you can see that there were days that we kind of popped here and had some huge moves. Stock really likes to drop after that, so kind of keep that in mind. Catalyst here, Processa Pharmaceutical shares are trading higher after the company announced FDA clearance of its IND application for a phase 2 clinical trial of NGC cap in breast cancer. So again, another positive cancer PR here. Stock's up 66%. Looking at this is an application for a phase 2 trial. So I would look at the exact same thing here. First, I'm going to start with the short interest, very, very low, 1.89%. We take a look at the financials here. If we go to the balance sheet, this company, has like $9 million in cash on the balance sheet. It burns $2 million in cash a quarter, so it's not in as poor of a position as the last company we looked at. But given that trial, I mean, to me, again, it still seems like this is going to need some more cash. So just kind of keep that in mind here. We'll see if we get a setup here intraday. I don't believe that any of these, either of these two that we've looked at, are candidates to hold overnight. Do so at your own risk. Okay. And I'll show you why I say that instead of just saying flat out no. I'll show you why I say hold it at your own risk. Next one here is going to be ticker ISPO, and this is Inspirato. Stock's up 21% here, and it doesn't look like there's any news. So, folks, if you have anything or if you saw anything about this company, let me know. As far as levels go, again, we don't really have any news here. As far as levels go, this is pretty cut and dry, right? $6 seems to be the level that we really need to hold. $7 has provided resistance both in the after-hour session and in the pre-market session today, and I don't expect that to change when the market opens. So I want to see what we do in between here. We actually have the VWAP smack dab in the middle of that range here at 650. So pretty clear levels here for ISPO. Definitely want to see how this trades, especially around the opening print when the market opens here. Next is going to be Mira. And at this point, this is a former ex-girlfriend. We've traded this one a number of times recently. If we take a look at the 15-minute chart, you can see that this stock has had plenty of movement, including one day where the thing went absolutely crazy. That was a Friday, if I'm not mistaken, Monday. And now we're curling back up. So one thing to look at is if this really starts to get going, we should be able to get levels off of this 15-minute chart. $3 certainly looks like a level to me here. Maybe $3.50 might be one, $4 might be one, and then inevitably $5, and then the all-time high here, $5.50. 549, whatever it ends up being. So keep that in mind here with Mira. If we take a look at the news here, we don't have anything new, right? The only thing we have was from yesterday, PR here about preclinical trial results for mental health treatment. So we'll see here on Mira. This has been a recent runner. Keep that in mind. Next here, a couple that I wanted to talk about. First of all, we're going to start here with Serve. I'll go back to RR here in a sec. We'll start here with Serve. And this is kind of why I said hold these at your own risk. Serve, and I think when we first started talking about this, I think I actually did say this is not a candidate that I would really like to hold overnight. This is something that would really be a day trade only. I can't remember specifically if 13 said that, so I'm not going to put words in his mouth when he's not here to defend himself. But this definitely fit that criteria. And look at the chart. This is definitely one that has produced over and over and over again. And if you look if you look at the past 3 sessions, stock has basically moved from 860 to a 20 handle. So it's more than doubled in just a handful of sessions here. So again, this is what makes a market. There's no way that I would have been in for this move, as I wasn't looking to hold serve. For those of you that did, congratulations. At this point, I think you have got to have paid yourself on the way up. And if you haven't yet, now's the time. Stock has moved rapidly, very, very quickly. The other thing that people have brought up here, or that we have started to talk about, is RR, ticker RR. This is Rich Tech Robotics. So very much like Serve, this is in the robotics field here. This did move in sympathy, I guess we could say, with Serve the first time. Now it does look like we're curling back up. So same deal here. We should be able to get some levels off the 15-minute chart if this does go. We're definitely going to watch the pre-market high levels here today, 188 and about 185, but $2 should be in play if this thing really gets juiced. We'll see if it can get up to that 258 and $3 mark. But just wanted to bring that up. Those two seem to be moving here together a little bit. ISPO, we already talked about that. Tilray, they reported earnings here today, so love to hear what you folks are doing with some of the pot names here today. We all know that these pot names, the most important stocks in the market. I want to know how you folks are actually trading the cannabis names. PayPal, this one I actually want to spend a little bit more time on when we have a bigger chart here. PayPal, there were a number of you folks that have been asking about PayPal or trading PayPal over the past several weeks here. We talked about it yesterday, really looked like it was at a pretty decent support spot. And sure enough, after earnings here, we're popping. My question is do we fade this pop, or do we actually hold this and move higher? Are things different here, or do we kind of just fade off of this initial move? PayPal up 7% here in the pre-market. The other thing that's worth mentioning here, we talked about Serve TWOU. Grats to you guys yesterday that did well trading this on the show. This was a big mover early on. I know a number of you folks hit that. We are kind of gearing here in the pre-market. We'll see if that ends up materializing. SOUN, one of the favorite stocks around here. This also kind of trying to gear up here a little bit in the morning. And then the last one that I had here was SoFi. SoFi reported earnings here today. Stock's up about 2.73%. No position here for me, but that's what's going on. Okay. Zunaid, I could use a breath there. So do you want to talk about a couple of stocks here real quick? Raphael Kramer, thanks for becoming a member. Really, really appreciate it. Let us know if there's a chart you want us to run down.
Did you go over Dragonfly by any chance?
I did not. That's perfect.
Okay, cool. So we have Dragonfly that released some news, and we actually are going to have an executive from Dragonfly later on today on All Access. So we'll talk about that. They got like a licensing deal with some possible royalties. So some good conversations to come on that one. And, that's what we've got on Dragonfly. So I wanted to kind of mention that because I saw the Slack come through on my end. But here's what we've got on the ES, kind of in this tight little range since, what is this? Since Friday, right? We're just kind of hanging out here. Up and down we go. I'm going to go ahead and set some alerts here. This is, again, on the ES side of things. So this is the E-mini futures on the 15-minute chart. That's what you've got on the ES. If we go to the NQ, it's a little bit more wonky. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this because that trend line doesn't really matter anymore. And you've got this. It's kind of moving all over the place as well. Try to just adjust some lines. Doesn't really make sense to keep them if they've been broken and not respected. So that's what I've got on the NQ. And then we can go ahead and see if we can just start a little bit of a trend line there and see if we get a third bounce somewhere around here and kind of keep it moving from that side of things. Nvidia, we talked about this yesterday, how this has also kind of just been hitting up resistance at 116, 117 area. We'll wait for it to pop above and get moving if it does. Otherwise, we'll see if it can hold support. If it wants to go ahead and test again at the 107s, we'll give it a shot and try to go long on that side. AMD, we took one trade yesterday, and it was a loser, and it was on AMD as we wanted to. We got this retest that we wanted. Unfortunately, the retest didn't come right back up. We missed a profit target by 15 cents, and then it just ended up staying resistance after it went down, as you can see, right? So it went down, tested that level again, and then came right back to the downside. So that's what we've got on AMD. Nothing really here for me to do. Probably won't play it, but just got some alerts set in case we do. Here's Apple once again, kind of in that same range, waiting for a break above 220. It looks like we're about maybe 30 cents away. So as soon as the market opens, maybe it'll do that here in 12 minutes. And then on the downside, you've got support at about 215 or so. And so we'll wait for that to be tested or possibly break. That's when I can go short and maybe get a retest of 200 is what I would expect. If we do go ahead and break that slowly but surely, maybe we get the test up 200, or we just could break to the upside of 220. We'll keep an eye on that. You've got Tesla as well yesterday. I mean, look at how well this worked out. We talked about this level. We missed it by, what is this? The retest came, it's about $1 of a miss in terms of a retest. So you had resistance here on Tesla at this 226 level. You got to hit it once, twice, 3, 4. Fifth time it broke, came back, almost retested it here, and then you continue to move to the upside. Now you've got 236 that's acting as resistance based on the pre-market movement. You can see resistance once, resistance twice. So we'll see what ends up happening on Tesla, ticker TSLA. Of course, they already reported earnings. Hood, that 2063, holding on strong as support. Just a few days ago, it did that on Thursday. We'll see if it continues to hold the support. Now it's coming back down again. We do have Hood calls that go all the way out to January. Hood reports earnings, I believe, sometime in August. Sometime in August. So we'll see if that makes it nice. It'll move to the upside. But we need it to get to 25. That's our target. We'll see if it happens on like an earnings run-up play, or else we might just be gambling when it comes to earnings itself. You've got Amazon here. Amazon, since it broke 200, it's been kind of just chugging to the downside. You can see downtrends. It makes lower lows and continues its move. Now you're trying to get above this 186. You had support here. You broke down. You had it popped up again, held the support, but then it broke down once again. So that 186 level is what I'm keeping an eye on for Amazon. Not really something I'm going to play because it's not as clean, but that is still a level to kind of keep in mind. You've got Disney. Disney, now you had, why did I end up, you had this level here where you had resistance. We popped up. We held a support in the pre-market, or excuse me, in the after hours yesterday. Now we'll see if in the pre-market it holds as that level or if it continues to the downside. If it holds, I think you can go ahead and get moving to the upside, especially because I thought we had a gap. Yeah, there you go. So now, you've kind of possibly tried to enter this gap area you're trying to fill yesterday, but now it's down a little bit. So we'll see if it moves back up. If it does go above, let's say 92.50, you can maybe try to have a gap close of $1 above it if you wanted to play Disney that way for a day trade or something of that nature. Otherwise, maybe you can expect some movement to the downside. I think $80 is where you had the COVID lows on that one. Taking a look at the SPY, similar to the ES, you still have the resistance area about 458 or so. We'll see if that wants to continue to the upside or if it just rejects and we move a bit lower as well. But yeah, those are the kind of stocks on my end. Did you have anything else you wanted to go over? If not, I can find a few more in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, there's always stuff to talk about here. Smoke Tuna, appreciate this. ISPO was on CNBC yesterday after hours. I actually didn't catch that. Was there anything worth noting from that? I'd be curious to know. Some other real good stuff here. Let me see if I can find it. Jay Rice here. Buon. So real quick here, BYON looking better after the report, turnaround play, high shorter interest and earnings last night. BYON, this is Beyond Incorporated. This is Bed Bath & Beyond, as far as I'm aware. And so this to me, really, really interesting, right? Where you think this is a turnaround play? They did report earnings. Looks like it was a beat on the top and the bottom line. It is trading higher here today by 12%. And when we take a look at the daily chart here, it looks like this is going to try this area. Yep, right in here. This little resistance area that was also a former support back in May of 2024, as well as a consolidation area. Curious to see how this stock trades here. This one not on my radar, Jay. Love it that you're bringing it here to the group. Were you in this? Are you trading this? How are you kind of taking this? A couple more things that I want to cover here. Amanda, you have been absolutely en fuego recently. Looks like you did play PayPal for the earnings last night. And I think that your strategy here is top notch. I'm going to take some profits on the PayPal spike, but I'll hold something else or something to see what's going on. So this is exactly how I would play this, right? We really kind of came off of a nice bottom there with the binary event. Stock is surprising to the upside here, plus 7%. I'd peel some of those, book some of those gains, and then leave a trailer on in case we do trade back up. Remember, one of the things that we've seen in PayPal is it likes to sell the pops that it has. So by executing the strategy the way that you're talking about right now, you're guaranteeing getting some of those gains booked. I think that's super prudent and exactly what we want to do. Also, from yesterday, guess what? We are going to take a risky trade here. We are actually taking some of this EA. I know we briefly talked about this yesterday. We have a ascending triangle that is about as clear as day, literally jumping off the chart here. This 148 to 150 area is significant resistance. I think we've tested this 7 or 8 times now. Earnings here tonight after hours. We talked about the college football 25 angle and how everyone is playing that. There were pre-orders for that. There were multiple tiers of game that people could get, all types of extras. Joe or 13 brought up microtransactions as a possibility. The only thing that has me worried here on EA, literally the only thing that has me worried is my little contrarian inside that is saying everybody is talking about college football 25. Everybody's talking about EA, and this trade to the upside looks about as obvious as it gets. So what does that tell me? Yeah, it probably won't work. Nonetheless, I did take a little bit of this via the options market. We're looking at next week's 155s. We'll see if that pays out here today. The other thing is that if we have a run today into that earnings print, I'm going to be able to book some ahead of that and then feel a lot better about leaving a trailer on for the binary event. So that's the other thing that I've got going on here. I can go through the chat here and pull a couple more out. Was there anything that you wanted to start with, Sunaid?
No, I'm good. We can take a look at what you've got, and then I'll pick it back.
Thinking about it really quickly, just kind of going with PayPal here, just to kind of finish up our discussion here. PayPal, very good report. Fastlane starting in August with a big rollout. Mentioned Meta is using PayPal for transactions. So again, this is really kind of getting to the larger question here at PayPal. Are things actually different, or is this going to be a short-term pop? That's really what we're trying to figure out here for our next trade. Thinking about it, I appreciate this information. Let us know what you think about all of that. Mr. Poopsie, interesting name here. We are not licensed and we cannot tell you when and what to buy. We'll be happy to try and break down some of the news and trading action, but we cannot act as your advisor. We cannot instruct you on what to buy there. You guys are mentioning Serve is popping again. I wouldn't be surprised to see if this is on deck yet again. So here is Serve. It looks like this is kind of curling up after its a little bit of a pre-market there. Gerald says BYON is beyond garbage. Looks like that's not something he's going to try and trade here today. Robert, good to see you this morning. Robert, you're mentioning Bud. That's going to be Anheuser-Busch. They report this week. This is going to be Thursday in the morning, right? Yes, before market opens. So Budweiser report, ticker Bud, Anheuser-Busch reporting Thursday morning. That Thursday is going to be a wild day. This one here in the morning. No position here for me in Bud. One of the things that I would take a look at, if you're looking at this one, is the report from Sam, right? I actually go through the conference call too. That just happened, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And if you can kind of go through that conference call, see what they said. Looks like Sam was a miss on the top and bottom line here. Maybe that kind of transfers over to Bud. And then one of the other things that I had seen earlier were some of the chip stocks, right? So I think we had Rambus right here reporting. Rambus is down here today. I think we had LSCC, Lattice Semiconductor. I think there were a couple of more here. This Lattice one, pretty interesting. We really broke through some support here. So we're coming into this 46 level. Maybe there's another area of support. I'm curious to know, you folks that have been trading a lot of the semis recently, let me know what you see here today. Jay, I saw that you were trying to get a discussion rolling earlier in pre-market prep regarding some of these semiconductors, more specifically the ones that have not yet reported. I'd love to drum that back up if anyone is interested in that. Okay. Your turn, Zunaid.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and take a look. Did you talk about CrowdStrike? Sorry.
No, I didn't. And that's
right, cool.
actually a good one to bring up because we got some more news there on CrowdStrike.
Oh, what was the news?
Here, let me pull it up.
Okay,
they are getting, I think, going to get sued by Delta. Let me read it. Okay, Delta seeks damages for the IT outage. I don't want to use the wrong words and misspeak there, but that's what's going on here with CrowdStrike.
Got it. Awesome. Well, you can take a look at that 150 level, or excuse me, the 250 level that we talked about. If you go all the way back here, when we brought it up yesterday on the show, you saw that it acted as support. That's what we pointed out to you. And now we'll see if it ends up acting as resistance, right? Would not be surprised if CrowdStrike tries to get up here and then maybe makes a move to the downside to revisit the lows of yesterday's after hours of about 244 or so. So keeping an eye on CrowdStrike, actually. I'm going to place an alert here and in case I want to grab some contracts on this one and grab some puts in case it does. And I would get out if I was, if it crossed above. Okay, got it. Thank you, Ryan. If it popped above 252. No, you're good. So we should be good there. And cool. So that's what we've got on CrowdStrike. Let's see. MFTR, MSFT.
That's Microsoft. It sounds like you're trying to say there.
Yeah. Trying to see what I want in the chart, and I don't really have a good view of it. I think maybe you get this 425 level to hold here, but besides that, I'm not really sure what we can do on this Microsoft. So yeah, I know you're talking about, hey, if it, is it going to impact earnings? I think it's kind of, unless something is mentioned on earnings that we didn't already know, like, hey, we lost a lot more business than we thought, or whatever, then I think, of course, it can have an impact on that. No question about that. Let's see. Delta.
Really quickly on Microsoft, I actually got a report yesterday from one of the gentlemen in our happy hour group, was saying that they actually had another outage, but it was company specific. It was with their company Microsoft suite of products. And although they had an outage, it was extremely short. In fact, he even made a point of saying, I'm surprised that they had it resolved that quickly. So totally different scenario there than CrowdStrike. But Kimberly brings up a good point here. I was kind of surprised Microsoft didn't see more of a hit from that. We'll see where it ends up going.
Gotcha. Yeah, you had, was this like earlier, like an hour ago or so?
What? The
outage for the Microsoft?
No, this was yesterday in our happy hour show. Sorry, I wasn't clear
about
that.
Because I saw some, no, you're good. Because I see some news about how Microsoft reports on issues in post on X. So like maybe Microsoft? I don't know. I don't know what, I don't know which Twitter account tweeted what or whatever the case may be. But anyway, that's the opening bell. Let's see how the markets go ahead and react. Keeping an eye on the ES level if it wants to go ahead and test back above this 55.34. Also just going to keep an eye on CrowdStrike. Wow. Just straight to the downside. And well, there is the visit of the lows of 244. Unfortunately, it did not hit my alerts here to grab the puts, but we did move to the downside, now making lower lows compared to yesterday's after hours market. CrowdStrike to the downside here to start things off for us. Did not get any puts. The thesis was right, but did not get it whatsoever.
Smoke Tuna mentioning J Blue right out of the gate here. They reported earnings this morning as well. Did they not? Let me confirm that for you here. Actually, yes, they did. I did not have J Blue on my list. Smoke Tuna, they are running right here out of the gate. I'm going to take a look at some of the other stocks from the list that ISPO is really kind of holding in the same area there. RR looks like it traded up to the here, let me go to my screen. Sorry about that. RR looks like it traded up to that pre-market resistance area and backed off, but not breaking down yet. PayPal, first move here is a spike off that regression from the pre-market. Let's see if we can get above these pre-market highs. It's going to be 64 and change. Look for that one here on PayPal. And real quickly, just as a reminder, stream is sponsored by Trade the Pool. So if you need a prop firm, 25K day trading threshold, or simply need more dry powder, check them out. They're great. They sponsor our stream every day. Okay, let's see. What else do we got here? Nike running the Olympics again. Is that, unless you meant ruining?
I think they meant ruining.
Okay.
I think, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've watched exactly 0 minutes of Olympics this session. I've kind of caught some of the results on Sports Center. Nike's price here hanging around the 73.70. This really hasn't done anything. We talked about Nike a lot leading up to the Olympics on this show. Talked about Nike really kind of having brand problems. I still think that athletes winning gold medals in this Olympic game is going to be a net positive for Nike. So factor that in. We'll see where that ends up going.
Nike triathlon postponed over, I don't know how to pronounce this, cyan pollution.
Yeah, the Seine River. Yeah, they were calling it the poop river. That was one of the most embarrassing uses of government funds I think I've seen in my 40 years of being alive.
This was like as a protest or something, right?
They spent, I think it was $16 billion trying to clean that river so that the swimmers could actually use that river for the events. And it tested for extremely unhealthy levels of E. coli. There's just shit all over the river. The mayor tried to jump in to say it was safe. Now they're canceling some of the events. I mean, look, it's a mess. It is a mess.
Yikes. Yikes. Okay. All right.
I have no trades put on around that, by the way. I'm not even sure how to address that.
Yeah. No,
that's not my thing.
I don't know.
Yeah, Alyssa. I'm sorry, Alyssa. I know it's early in the morning, but we were having that discussion. I had to get it out there. You're right.
I was just on CNN because someone mentioned, I think Lion Atlas mentioned Hezbollah starting the war and whatnot. So I just went to CNN to see what was happening there.
Okay, it's pronounced like, isn't that what I said? Did I say CN?
I think it might have been, that thing might have been referenced to me.
Okay.
On Nike, by the way. Sure. You're good. On Nike, we'll see if it wants to break above the 74.31 level on Nike, ticker NKE. You've got support that was held up at the 71 area. Amazon looking to get back above 186. They do report earnings later on this week, 2 days from now, on Thursday.
PayPal rejected here at 64, although it did try to get over that. I don't think we've seen the end of this here in PayPal. I don't think it's done on the day, I should say. Sava spike right out of the gate here. EA trading up out of the gate. You love to see it.
Oh, okay. Let's look at Sava here real quick. You've got this trend line from the top of December 12th. The second touch point was April 11th. And now we can see maybe around 21, 22 bucks or so, depending on obviously where in this trend line it hits for there to be some resistance. So heads up, that's what I've got. You've got the $20 hold number resistance. And then you've also got this trend line to kind of keep in mind on the 4-hour chart that I'm showing you right here.
Sorry.
You're good. All right, let's see what else we've got.
Okay. Yeah, what are IMN or Tuna? I think we messed that one up. INMM, or is it the other way? IMNN. IMNN, Immunion. Okay, so this actually dipped and just reclaimed the VWAP. Tuna, you think we go higher here? I think you might be on the one here. SOUN popped. 4 semi names reported last night, all down. Yeah, so this is what I was getting at, Jay. I saw that you were mentioning this earlier. What will this mean for some of the bigger names reporting later on? So that's a good question here, because I'm not sure that some of these smaller names are really going to kind of materially impact something like Nvidia, but I would imagine some of those other names like doesn't LRCX still have to report? Let me get that. Let me Lam Research here. Yeah, they report tomorrow after the market. I think that this is a net negative, Jay. What say you? What do you think here? I think some of these smaller names reporting, all of them being down, I kind of feel like we're just having a regression move. What say you?
You've also got Tesla, by the way, coming to the downside, possibly going to test this 226 previous resistance, acting as support area on Teslas. That's continuing to move down. Let's take a look at Crowd. Let me just add CrowdStrike here, actually.
IMNN straight up rejected at that VWAP. That did not get going here. Serve opposite, rolling through the VWAP. Now in new intraday highs on Serve. Next spot here on Serve is going to be 2360. If we get there, oh my God. So remember, when it comes to Serve, they had an Nvidia investment. That is your difference. That's your kicker there. Good morning, Andy. It's great to see you. Thanks so much for your service. You're part of the group of best people. Now we can say that now that you are here. Jay, you agree? You think that means net negative for other semi names? Okay, so how are we playing that? Are we playing a basket maybe to the downside for earnings? Are we getting the binary event out of the way and maybe swinging them short? What's the move there? BYON, by the way, Zunaid, I'm sorry if I'm running you over.
You're good, bro. Go ahead.
BYON, another one. This is that beyond that we just talked about. Look at the move down here. Look at this pullback. Is this viable? Is this a viable pullback? What do you guys think? Jay, what are you doing here with BYON? You think we bounce here?
Man, CrowdStrike just to the downside again, discontinuing.
I'm going to check some news here on a couple of stocks on a different screen. Zunaid, if you need the screen,
You're
take
good.
it.
Yep. I'm just showing CrowdStrike how it tried to bounce around this 244, but it said, nah, we good. And then straight continuing to the downside. And man, I would have loved to get those at 250, but we just could not do it.
Jay, okay, you sold that there. So it looks like you probably booked gains on that, right? Mark, straight up, just not even mincing words here. Beyond is garbage. All right. $15 stop out. Looks like you got hit on that move back down there. At least you booked some gains. We'll see if this bounces here around 14 on BYON. Let's see what else you guys got. 20. Glenn, good to see you this morning. Glenn, of course, talking about Chewy. Chewy's actually been a pretty decent trade for us after that earnings report back in May. Chewy here, next level, Glenn has at 25.19. Chewy curling here out of the open. This actually looking pretty good so far. We'll see if we get to that level that Glenn's looking for there on Chewy. Jane out on Serve here. Did we keep moving higher here, Jane? We did. Take that register ring. Nice claw back there, Jane. IWM is moving up. Well, gosh, you just love to see that, don't you? Especially when your port is mostly small caps. We'll take it. NIPG, what a day this had yesterday. Did anyone trade this yesterday? I know we talked about this. Ninjas in pajamas. Wild day. It was a little crazy on our show, got really crazy after the show. Looks like we're kind of pulling back here. Halted to the downside at just north of the consolidation area for yesterday. I think there's some more downside here on NIPG.
Let's see if anything else is. CrowdStrike finally bouncing from about 241s. Tesla continuing to the downside. No trades that I can see that I like. Just kind of patiently waiting.
Okay, or just sorry. Sometimes I get distracted because at this time during this part of the season, I get clips out of Bears camp, and I got clips of Caleb Williams throwing touchdowns to Rome Odunze, and I'm excited, and I can't stop that. So really, really happy.
Is the Hall of Fame game this Thursday?
And the Bears play. The first football game is this week, and I am here for it, folks.
Nice. Do we have 3 seasons of preseason? Three weeks of preseason, or is it 4?
What? They've been changing some of that stuff. I think it's 3 preseason games. NFL. Let's see, Zunaid. It's actually a good question because you might be able to plan if you're going to play some of the gambling stocks. So here we go. Preseason games. The Hall of Fame game is its own thing. So just 2 teams play there. Then week 1, 2, and 3. So there are 3 preseason games. We're also going to have fantasy leagues starting up around that 3rd preseason game. That's something else to keep in mind.
All right, let's take a look at Serve. By the way, I'm waiting on the ES to break this 5534 area.
Serve here is going to need to really get through that 23. It's pulling off that spot. We'll see if it does. Jane, great job trading or selling into the upward momentum. That's what we want to see on some of these day trades. Ken bringing up ENVB. This is a penny stock here, but this is getting rolling so far. We've actually just took out the VWAP. We'll see if we push higher here. BYON, for anyone maybe interested in that, is doing a good job so far holding 14. Watch for this level as a potential bounce spot. There's going to be some good betting action, Ryan. Voodoo, I hope so. And what I hope more than that is let's hope they get some W's, right? Let's hope they get some notches in the win column. It's what we've been missing here in Chicago.
Amen.
What do you think? Are you a football fan? What do you think about your Falcons this year?
I don't even know who our starting quarterback is right now. So,
Kirk Cousins. There's a lot of drama.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They signed Cousins and then they drafted a rookie who's pretty good. I think Penix is pretty. That team should be interesting. You should have some storylines coming out of Atlanta.
Yeah. I don't really follow it unless it's Sunday and I can bet on it, and that's about it.
I feel look, Zunaid, I feel that there is nothing better than a breakfast and coffee on Sunday morning filling out your bet slips for football. There is nothing better, Zunaid. Well, nothing.
You've got, by the way, Disney, who's now about 50 cents away from filling the gap on ticker DIS. So we'll probably approach that here shortly, as we're just about 50 cents away on Disney. And then maybe the reject. So if you're looking to go short, I think 93.50s is not a bad spot, and you're risking about maybe say 60, 70 cents on that one.
Music to my ears, Zunaid. We actually talked about a potential Disney short setup yesterday. They had positive news here. Looks like that was earnings, right? No. What was this? Excuse me. It was the numbers from that Deadpool Wolverine movie, right? That was a Disney movie. It's rated R. It's like the highest rated R movie. So there's some crazy stat in there. But basically, when it comes to Disney, what this is doing is this is giving you an opportunity to maybe have short entry. Walk with me on this one, Zunaid. If we continue to trade up a little bit and we fill this upside gap, I've got that at about 94.30. Let's call it that. Possible short entry right there. But take a look. If it continues to have some strength, you have possible short entry at the 20, 500, and 50-day moving average. I would say if it clears out all of those, your thesis is probably bunk at that point.
Yeah.
But the other thing here is that this is actually taking the RSI off the oversold territory. And if we consolidate or maybe stop at this 20-day here and that RSI creeps in no man's land, look for a potential short entry for this to roll back down here, test that 90, and then inevitably 80, which I think is where the real big support is here. Disney, ticker DIS.
You've got Microsoft that's saying Microsoft Azure investigating reports of issues connecting to Microsoft servers globally, status page.
So that is carried on. So Zunaid, that is timely, and it looks like maybe more of that happening. This would be a holdover from yesterday on Microsoft. Interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were going to take a look there at AZTR.
Yeah. I will. And I'll get to it. So we had someone ask for Joseph from Twitter asking for AZTR, not a ticker I trade, but God, I hope no one held on to this one or swung it or whatever the case may be. To me, unless it breaks back above $1, I'm not really interested in this one. You have support so far around 80 cents or so, which is 4 cents away from where the current price is. So if it props up above $1, that's how I'd go ahead and play it. But besides that, not a ticker that I would go ahead and personally play myself. MSFT.
And
what's up?
On that AZTR, we had a huge, that thing was up like 300%, then had an and got absolutely slammed. So Zunaid, to me, this is maybe a no touch. Maybe stay away from this at the moment.
And then you've got Microsoft that we've been talking about their connectivity issues. Nothing really, it's kind of hanging. It's still slightly green, barely about to go maybe red. So, nothing really happening there. You've got SOX, the Semiconductor Direction Daily Bear 3X shares. possibly making a move to the upside, as well as the semis are a little bit weak. You have Nvidia down 2%, but you have AMD that's up 1%. So you've got that bit of a discrepancy on that side of things.
I look at around here. Tesla, I think, really interesting right out of the gate here. Tesla slammed to the lows. Lynn and Randy, what do you think about a bounce spot here for Tesla? 227.50. Didn't quite get. Did it test that? No, I don't think it printed that. See if it gets back down there. 228.50 at the moment. Still feels a little heavy right here. That semis continuing to show you weakness there, Jay. Even Nvidia. How about SMCI? Where are we at on SMCI? That's still hanging out under 700. Chewy, target one achieved. Good stuff there, Glenn. That was that level. That 25.10, I think, is what you had, Glenn. 25.13 now on Chewy as that curl continues here. ENVB, that penny stock is working. Grats to you, penny players. You guys catching another one. I feel like we had another one yesterday, didn't we? Didn't play it. Neo, this moving out of the gate here. What about, Chris is asking, what about Apple? Has earnings Thursday. Zunaid, you covered Apple initially, right? You took a look at that
220.
chart.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 220 level here for Apple. Now, let me ask you, Zunaid. Okay, so this happens on Thursday. So maybe if Apple pops, maybe today and tomorrow, are you kind of selling that into the report? Because I think we've seen a lot of these that run into the report end up not doing all that well.
Yeah. I mean, even right now, you can see if I go to the 15 minutes, it's having a tough time staying above this 220 level. We broke above it, but now we're kind of right back below it. So keep an eye on it, see what it does around 220. If it bases, maybe you can knock on the doors of 222. But besides that, I'd probably, kind of leave it alone or play to the short side on that. You've got CrowdStrike again, found some support at 241, but just staying away from this one. I wish it would have tested the 250 so I could have gotten a play on it, but just going to leave it be for now.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to actually put CrowdStrike in a different window. Here we go. So I'm going to keep CrowdStrike in one of my windows just so I can kind of keep an eye on it. I've looked away from it several times here today. I don't think I should. I'm going to run through some more stocks here. I don't see anything great for a trade setup here yet. Trying to exercise some more patience. So we'll see if that ends up working here. IMNN beneath its VWAP. Watch this for a potential reclaim here. Let me go ahead and get this up for a potential trade here. If we reclaim that VWAP, I've got that at what, 330 something, 338, I think that says. Watch that here on a potential reclaim. Let's see, I think someone mentioned Affirm earlier was running. That's ticker AFRM. Affirm is stronger here out of the gate. DXCM, are we bouncing on that still? Indeed. So we had another move back yesterday, and that is continuing here today. Who's on this bounce play? Who's on this Dexcom bounce play? Would love to know that. Would love to know that. Jay mentioning GS, JPM, strong banks helping. Okay, so you're saying those are strong and the banks are helping the IWM. Sorry, I just I read that poorly. Here is GS. Boy, I was early on that 500 call, wasn't I? Those calls expired worthless. I was just a month too early. If I had those calls for one more month, that is, I might even exercise those. Those were so cheap when I bought them. JPM here, same deal as GS. That is strong as well. JetBlue continuing. We're stay focused. Stay focused. Are you here this morning? Man, you were all over this JetBlue trade. You gave that to us early ahead of earnings. This thing moving higher now on that.
Yeah.
Carmen, sorry, Zunaid. I bought in the night the earnings fell, picked it up for so cheap. Carmen. Yes, that's what we want to hear. Great job. Great job. On the Dexcom trade. That was definitely, when we were talking about that at happy hour, definitely kind of concerned about the situation there. Someone else, I think, traded that for a 5% move yesterday on that. Great stuff there, Carm. Junaid, are you still watching CrowdStrike at all?
Yeah, dude, it's bouncing from that 2 here for 241s. I am struggling with this Invisalign, man. It is kicking my ass. God,
I actually didn't even notice. I thought the price was, because I'm watching the price kind of bounce back and forth. I didn't even notice that was your Invisalign. This feels heavy to me. This actually feels like we might be taking another leg lower here.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Do we come back to test 244.34 and maybe get, rejected? Or is it going to eventually come back up and test the 250s? But know this, though. This was in the, where was the drop in this? So this one has dropped. And chat, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know exactly when the news came out of, when was there? I think it was right here. I think their news came out and it was around 300. So it's $50-$60 lower. Chat, help me out. I'm not exactly sure what the stock price was right before the news came out that this was a CrowdStrike issue. But nonetheless, here we go, breaking and making new lows on CrowdStrike all the way to the 240s to the downside.
Yeah.
Where can we find the next support level? That is the question. And I personally, maybe not the best area for me, but maybe around 238.59s. You might get a little bit of a bounce, but you also have a gap to fill. I'm not saying it's going to come all the way down here. Do not think that that's what I'm saying, but you've got a gap to fill at the 214, 215 area here on CrowdStrike. But it's not looking pretty. It is not looking pretty.
Smoke Tuna mentioning here IMNN 280 support by the weakness. So if we take a look at that, this did just kind of knife right down. And Tuna, to your point here, we went right to the support level. The actual support level to the penny I have here looks like 287, 288. 286 was the low print. Looks like we've already bounced back beneath 3. Let's see if we get that 280 or maybe 280 and change. That tell you what, Tuna, when that sold off into the 280 handle, that happened fast. That thing was back at 295 with the quickness. Let's wait this out and see if we get some more support at this level. Good stuff here, and appreciate the call ahead of time.
All right, let's see. Any other tickers? Yeah, Nvidia just continues to move to the downside. Keep an eye on this 107 area to see if it acts as support, and if we get a bit of a bounce. I
just threw your charts up. That's all.
Oh, okay, cool. No, you had AT join. That made a little point.
What did we do? Did we do something wrong?
He's probably just messing with all access stuff.
Serve, that initial pop towards the pre-market highs got sold. We're actually beneath the VWAP there on Serve. RR doing the same thing. Boy, look at this. So that robot trade. That robot trade, not great yet here today. Jane, looks like you played Serve exactly right here today. You sold that pop right out of the open, booked your gains, and look where it is now. Let's see if this comes back in and allows you to reload here. Maybe 1950, maybe even $20. We'll see here on Serve. Great job, Jane.
All righty. And then on Nvidia, again, we're just patiently waiting for the 107. That's the area that I've got on that hood. It's trying to figure out if it's going to go red to green, green to red, just kind of hanging out. You've got AMD that's given up all of its gains. Is that struggling a little bit here? Especially with Nvidia being pulled. That's being pulled as well, but Nvidia is much weaker here today than AMD. ES, still within the range that we talked about since Friday. NQ, nothing happening here either. So honestly, we're just waiting for things to play out, unfortunately. But a year ago, I would have just said, hey, I'm bored. I want to take a trade. Now I'm just kind of hanging, just waiting for things to play out.
Zunaid, I am so glad that you said that, because honestly, literally the theme really of this year, but more specifically the theme since May, at least for me, has been less is more.
Yeah.
The less I trade, the better I do. If I save myself for a good setup, or I save myself for a swing trade instead of trying to day trade everything, I personally seem to do better. Now, that's not a comment for some of the active traders that are in here killing it every single day. I just mean for myself, I've noticed that less is more, and I've just tried to focus on that.
Amen to that. CrowdStrike, man. New lows on CrowdStrike.
BYON, new lows here. That took the next leg down. That 14, that was not going to help. And, looking at the SPY here, Zunaid, we're talking about some individual names moving to the downside. I had told you earlier in my SPY preview that one of the things I really cared about was going to be, where does that candle close? SPY here traded up out of the open, right back down to flat here. Green to red move on deck possibly here for SPY. We'll see if we end up getting that. That'd be rough ahead of earnings here. LUMN, this is one I think someone mentioned from last week here. LUMN continuing its move higher. Look at this move. LUMN from July 8th. Stock was $1. 100% move, almost straight up. Looks like we had one red day in there. Stay focused is telling me stay focused on that, pal. Appreciate it. That means I'm on to something here. I'm on the right track. Brittany here saying, I'm honestly so glad you guys just said that. I really needed to hear it. This is another thing, folks, everyone's got their own problems, right? Everyone's got their own issues. That's one of the reasons why you really shouldn't pass judgment on anybody else. But when it comes to trading here, and I know, Zunaid, I'd love to get your opinion on this, because when I first started on trading, I started on FinTwit, and I swear to God, it felt like everybody won every single day, and I was beating my head against a wall trying to figure out what was going on. So, Brittany, you're going to hear honesty from us. When I screw up, when I make a bad trade, which happens regularly, you're going to hear about that. Because I know that's what the rest of the traders out there are doing. Even Paul Tudor Jones and Warren Buffett made bad trades. That's how it goes.
Amen to that. No, I completely agree, because everyone on FinTwit's like, oh, I made this much money. I made that much money. I can't believe you guys didn't see this. What an easy trade. Yada, yada, yada. Well, two things.
How does that help?
Two things. One, you never can see the bad trades that they have made loss-wise. And also, two, I can have $50,000 in one account. I can have $50,000 in another account. I can buy short. I can buy long. And whichever one is profitable, that's the one that I show off, right? So there's many ways, unfortunately, to go ahead and manipulate things on social media to where we feel less successful. I mean, it's been proven that social media is what accelerates, depression and all that good things. Not good things, but you get the point. Let me take a look at Nvidia, because that's being called out. Nvidia just making, again, lower lows here. Jolts, you've got that in 30 seconds. Appreciate you, Jonathan, for pointing that out. Let's see if it gets any reaction. Put it on the 1 minute on the SPY. Coming out in about 15 seconds. And then I'll take a look at NUZE, Wally.
Okay. Okay, real good stuff. Zunaid, I'm going to leave your charts up here for this, but don't forget, it is 10 o'clock, so that means it is guest time. And today we are pleased to bring you options expert Chris Capri. Chris, happy Tuesday, my man. How you doing this morning?
Happy Tuesday. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We're just talking about the market here. I got to know, with earnings week, Fed happening this week, what are you seeing in the options market? What have you taken advantage of so far? And are you looking forward to anything specific for the remainder of the week this week?
Yeah, great question. So let's start with the first one, something that's kind of been on our radar and something that Zunaid just mentioned, which is Nvidia. And we've seen a massive deleveraging in the AI chip semiconductor space over the last few weeks. We were actually telling our students ahead of time before the July OPEX. So the July OPEX was July 19th. We were telling everybody that Monday, hey, watch out. We think these things are going to start pulling back. We had kind of anticipated this ahead of time, and that's partially because call skews got a little bit rich in Nvidia. Nvidia has been a darling, was up 160+% on the year, and leverage cuts both ways. And from my experience in 24 years on the markets, it's the leverage is what gets you those great returns, but it's also what causes these big sell-offs. Because, maybe you started with 1,000 share position, way back when it was at 100, and now you're at, a 3,000 share position. The bigger position is, the bigger that gear is. So when those losses hit, they hit harder. And that's what we've just been seeing over the last few weeks, is deleveraging across that space. Mm-hmm. In that kind of deleveraging there, we haven't seen what I'd call like a fire alarm risk off situation. So that's when nobody wants anything, and they just go into bonds and safe havens. That's not what we're seeing in the markets. What we're seeing is a rotation saying, hey, look, I'm not worried about everything. I just don't like this space right now. I'm going to unwind my position a little bit. Where am I going to put this into? I still like some equities out there. And so that kind of leads in the second thing, like, what are we looking at? We've been harping about finance all year, saying it's been great. You look at a lot of the bank tickers, JPM, WFC, Bank of America, Citibank, they've all had very strong years. We're actually in a Wells Fargo position right now. And so we've been, saying, hey, we're going to see some rotation to finance. You saw a little bit of rotation to energy for a little bit, but that's kind of waned a little bit. And I think traders are saying, look, how can we get into some areas that are not quite as concentrated as we were before, which was big tech, AI, semiconductor space. And so they went to retail for sure. They definitely kind of looked out, like we have a position on ACN, so kind of diverging a little bit. We just felt like, and then small caps have obviously been a big beneficiary. IWM has a great run. We actually just closed our IWM position for a pretty good profit, but 60% on that one just yesterday. And so you're just seeing rotations right now. And, this is what happens when you get too concentrated in one area, is that eventually you're going to have some deleveraging. And if the leverage has been built up a lot, it's going to unwind hard. And that's what we're seeing in Nvidia right now. And ARM is another one that sold off pretty heavy. Dell is another one that sold off pretty heavily. And this is a big week for it. You have AMD today after markets. You have Intel Thursday after markets. There's landmines everywhere this week. It's one of probably the most exciting weeks of the year that we've had thus far in terms of events being packed in 1 week.
Yeah, no, I totally agree there. And I love pretty much everything that you just said here. By the way, ACN, this is currently on watch for me for this 200-day reclaim. That's going to be that blue line. We get 1 or 2 closes and we reclaim that, giddy up. I think I like this north of 350, maybe even a 360 print. So that's just kind of an aside there, not to jock your what you were talking about there, Chris. We had a question earlier about you were talking about it being deleveraged from Nvidia. There was such concentration in some of these semi names, and you're expecting that to kind of continue here. I think we had a brief discussion earlier about some of these other smaller semiconductor names that have reported and are all trading down here. LCSS, Rhombus. There were 2 more here. I can't remember the tickers off the top of my head. I'm sorry. Do you think that there's maybe still some room in that trade to the downside? Do you think that might continue here through the rest of the summer?
It's a great question. So 2 things. Let's assume there was no earnings this week and there's no FOMC, and we're just looking at options. The answer would be yes. I still think there's more downside. And so one of the most important metrics that we look at in the trading waves in the Benzinga option school is what we call our TPS. It's called the top put strike. So imagine if you could scan every strike, every expiry really easily, and you had a program that did this for you, and then it would find these areas where you see high concentrations of puts. The only way that happens across multiple expiries, the only way that happens is if a lot of institutions are saying, hey, we think this is a potential downside target. When we are below that, if we don't see any positioning below that, we consider that oversold. So we don't look at oversold and overbought in terms of an indicator. We look at it in terms of positioning. If there's liquidity to move it to that level, then it's not oversold. But if there's nobody positioned below the current price, then we're not oversold. We haven't gotten to those levels yet. We see, for us, that TPS, that top put strike, which we make available for free for our Trading with Benzinga Option School members every day, that is at 100. Nvidia is not there yet. We've been telling people, like last week, we told everybody, hey, TPS is at 110. We think it could get to 110. Boom, gets to 110. Now we've seen those levels shift down. And so anytime you see concentrations of levels shift down, then that means the bearish shares are saying, hey, we think this could go lower, and we might be able to, we're going to try and gun for this. So we looked at ARM, Nvidia, SMCI, SMH. We looked at all of them, and none of them is really projecting past that TPS, that top put strike, which means that there is a downside available in terms of positioning. Now, the reality is we have earnings today for AMD after market, and we have Intel. So now let's bring that back into the equation.
Okay.
Could there be more downside? Yeah, if those earnings don't dress to impress, if AMD comes in soft, if Intel comes in soft, and we don't get an FOMC that plays ball, in other words, if they're not dovish, if they're not saying anything or giving us any inclination about a rate cut in September, and it's kind of like maybe on the hawkish side, we'll see more downside. So However, if they come in strong and people come out of the FOMC thinking, hey, we're not getting a rate cut today, but we're going to get it in September. And, he's definitely more, upbeat about potential rate cuts in the future. Then I can see those start to stabilize and people saying, hey, let's rotate back into them a little bit. Do I think it's going to be the same rotation as it was at the beginning of the year? No, but it will be a recovery. So, the volatility, obviously, as these have sold off, volatility premiums have increased, and those premiums are just levers, which means that when they start gaining, traders saying, hey, this volatility is a little bit overpriced, let's sell that. And so then that creates a lever, which we would call Vanna pressure, which creates dealer hedging impacts from traders saying, hey, we're going to take advantage of this. So you get two hedging impacts. You get the traders saying, we want to sell the volatility. And then you have the dealers who have hedging impacts of that volatility coming down. And that allows, it kind of gives an extra tailwind. So we are, we think the best play right now, and we're going to actually make a similar trade for our Trading Ways of Benzinga Option School members, is to actually play a long iron condor. And so if you look at, prices have been compressing in SPYs and Qs the last few days, right?
Yep.
So as they've been compressing, anytime you have tight ranges, positions come in. Nobody says, if markets were to chop in a 5-point range for 2 weeks, you're not going to have somebody buying, anybody worth their salt, buying, 20-point out of the money calls or puts or anything like that. It's just not what smart people do. So positions come closer to the money. And so what that does is that creates an opportunity for a big breakout. We think tech is poised for a big breakout to the upside or downside, and a long iron condor can take advantage of that. So short iron condor, you sell it, you want it to stay within this range. You want it to stay within goalposts. Long iron condor saying, I don't know what direction we're going to go, but we're going to punch one way or the other pretty heftily. And we think this punch is going to last till the August OPEX. So we're looking at potential long iron condors for our members either today or tomorrow. Probably today because we have the earnings and we want to get ahead of the earnings, but we don't think traders are going to make big bets until the FOMC comes out.
Okay, and actually that's awesome because that was literally going to be my next question, and you answered it without me even asking. Are you going to do some of this before the Fed, after the Fed, before earnings, or after earnings? Awesome stuff there. Okay, really good in-depth analysis there. It really seems like those iron condors there, long iron condors, pardon me for using a football reference. I got football in the brain. So it really seems like it's going to be touchdowns or turnovers at that point, right there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so they're the kind of tool that it's kind of like using a football analogy. Like you don't always go for it on fourth down. In fact, a lot of times you're not going for it on fourth down. But in the right situations, you realize, hey, we need to go for this. This is an advantage for us. This statistically is important. And we feel that there's a situation like this. We've actually probably done 10 of these on the year, and I don't think we've lost a single one. If you wait for the right environments, when you have these opportunities where there's a potential for a big breakout, and we just happen to have that. FOMC, earnings, big earnings today, big earnings tomorrow, big earnings Thursday. Like we have so many things coming together that we feel that this is going to set a major direction for the August option expiry. Traders are going to say, you know what? We got forward guidance. There's no FOMC in August. So let's start punching out positions to August. And so we feel that is an opportunity to take advantage of. We're going to use that. So in the right situations, if you want to play both directions, instead of buying straddles, we recommend long iron condors because they neutralize a lot of the theta risk, and they also kind of limit your overall exposure. And so we feel there's a better way to take advantage of it. We think that's probably going to be the setup for this FOMC tomorrow.
Okay. Chris, that is awesome. It looks like we had some pretty good timing with you jumping on here. What do you say? I think we timed this one pretty well here today.
It was perfect, and I also liked what Zunaid was there. He was talking about Nvidia, but I also like what he was saying about social media.
Yeah,
I can tell you as someone who's been on the buy side institutionally, been on the sell side institutionally, we are not spending our time on social media looking for ideas. Like that's not how we operate. And so, it's important to understand what you need to be focused on as traders. If you don't have some social media trading bot, you shouldn't be on social media as a trader. You should be focused on the markets, what's happening with institutions, and seeing who's pushing things around. And if you do that, you'll save yourself a lot of time that you waste being not focused on the markets, but focused on social media. And that focus will return into more trade ideas. So traders, I recommend avoiding it as much as possible. Don't go looking at social media for ideas. You want to be in webinars like this and the programs that you're offering. This is where you want to be because that's, this is what we will focus on. Institutional traders are not spending our time on social media.
Really, really well said. Zune, did you have anything else here for our guests?
No. I mean, how would you? I mean, I'll go ahead and ask. You've got CrowdStrike that's just kind of heading to the downside, just continuously, right? Do you have any levels on this one? I mean, the one that we pointed out here, the 238, they got a nice little bounce, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot. But CrowdStrike, any thoughts on how you would want to kind of play this, or if you want to talk about maybe Apple, that's kind of hitting its head against the 220 level that's been resistance for a few days now. That's got earnings coming up on August 1st. So take your pick. CrowdStrike, Apple. Give us some thoughts there.
All right, let's look at CrowdStrike right now. Sold off 4 weeks, obviously from the bad news. Funny story, McAfee had a similar situation many, many years ago, and it lost them so much money that the company said, we're going to fire the guy responsible for that. That person is now the CEO of CrowdStrike today. And so this isn't his first dance.
Kidding me?
Around.
No way.
I know. Exactly. This is not his first answer on making that mistake. This is the second time. So with that being said, I'm looking at CrowdStrike. Price action looks terrible. Flows are absolutely abysmal. Like, shares are selling, but on top of it, you have traders buying puts, that's bearish, and you have traders selling calls, that's bearish. Yeah. Everything on this is bearish, so I think there's more downside. Now, in terms of levels, we're sub 240. Positioning is going to start thinning out a little bit, but I see positioning at 230. I see positioning at 220. After 220, there's very little bearish positioning. Then there's one little uptick at 200. So if this, I wouldn't be surprised to see this at 235 or 230.
Yeah.
Especially if tech does not come out strong, they're going to see more pressure to the downside. Yeah. If it loses 230, there's enough room and fuel to 220. After that, you kind of have a liquidity gap. And the 200s are probably people that are further out in time. Yeah. Like, it would be unlikely that it could get there by this Friday. So the positioning I'm seeing at 200 is not for this Friday. Yeah. It's probably August OPEX. So if we start losing 230 and then we're at 220 and you lose that, then you're on your way to 200. So
got a gap
I don't see anything right now. Yeah, I don't see anything that would say this is stopping right now.
All right. Well, fair enough. Appreciate your insights, man.
Yeah, Chris, awesome stuff here today. Really bringing the heat. Well timed here. Thanks so much for your time, my man. Again, I posted a link to the Universe session. If you want to see more of Chris, be sure to sign up for our webinar. We'll get you in there. Chris, thanks for your time. Have a great, profitable rest of the week, and we'll catch you next time. All right.
Good seeing you. Take care, guys.
All right, take care. That is Chris Capri. Boy, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
Yeah, real good stuff there, and love that about CrowdStrike. We just gave you a whole plan there as we watch CrowdStrike continuing to melt here real quick.
And we got a bounce. Go ahead.
No, just really, really quick. I'm just going to remove this. I'm going to throw it right back to you. Smoke Tuna during the end of that interview was on with this. It was actually this call. I'm sorry. IMNN at support tuna. I took some of that. I've actually already traded out of this one. That was money. Beautiful bounce. Smoke Tuna, you are also in fuego here. Okay, Zunaid, I'm going to go back to your chart here real quick, and I'm going to BRB 1 sec.
All right, no worries. So you've got, where did it go? So we talked about this level of the 238s, right? And the reason for that is because if we go to the daily, we kind of saw, hey, this level here is where we bounced last time, and it hasn't come back to test it since. And that's why we drew that level. Obviously, it wasn't right to the penny, but I think it was less than 0.5% off. This is why you always want to look left and see if you can find some value there. So less than $1 off, aka in this big of a stock, you're looking at less than 0.5% that we were off on this one. Now look at the bounce that we got. So if you would have risked, say $1 for $1, let me go here. Why am I bugging? There we go. So I would have risked about $1 or $2. Actually, I probably would have risked about $2 on this one. Where is my... Here, let me actually... That's not the right tool to do it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted with Slacks here. But the point being is see if this 238 holds, because we haven't even fully tested this 245. I still would not be surprised if we come back and test this 245. Let me go to the VWAP and see where that is. That's a little bit lower. I would have loved for it to be around here. So if we did come back and retest it, I would have the whole number of 245. I would have the VWAP, and I would also have the previous support area that would act as resistance as well. But so far, levels holding, But like Chris said, could completely see more downside, especially because we've got a gap to fill around 215. Not saying it'll happen today, not saying it'll happen this week, but depending on how earnings come out themselves, we could get more downside movement. And CrowdStrike does report earnings themselves later on in August, in less than a month. August 27th is what I'm seeing here. So plenty of opportunity on CrowdStrike.
I might have to play that one. Honestly, like, let's see where we're at when we get there, but I might have to play that one. Excuse me, just because we've talked about it so much and we've analyzed this so much, like I might be ready to do that one for earnings.
All right, let's see Nvidia if we got anywhere close to, oh man, bounced less than 50 cents away from the levels that we drew. Just missing these entries.
Real quick here, TWOU, this pulled back to the VWAP. This pulled back to the VWAP and is bouncing here. We talked about this 350 level coming back into play. Looks like we're trading up to that level here. I did just notice some Microsoft, Amazon, Lilly, AMD, Microsoft options here. All of those puts. One of those was called, these are kind of small though. I guess that is a Tesla put sweep, $500,000 Tesla put sweep in there. Okay. Thought maybe that would stand out there, but nothing too crazy. I noticed that Dexcom was on there. So Sprouts pulling back after that good report. DXCM, is that continuing to bounce here? Looks like that was a really good play there. Actually going to go back to trade the pool here real quick.
We're good.
That bounce short-lived, but that bounce call was literally perfect timing, Tuna. Really impressive call on that one. Sava here. Dan, good to see you here this morning. Sava actually looks like this might take out that intraday high here on Sava. Watch for a move to 20 here. The 200-day on Sava at 2082. By the way, Accenture here, we talked about this with Chris Capri on Accenture. This is definitely one that I'm watching. I actually think Anne-Marie had a trade on Accenture recently. Can't remember. Anyway, that VWAP at 330 on the head here. Accenture currently at 329, so it's right there.
Where is...
Sinead, I'm fired up today. I'm fired up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just, we're missing a Hood, by the way, just wants to go a seesaw back and forth between the open and close. So between the red and green, can't really figure out which way it wants to move. So it's just kind of stuck in the middle there. But Apple, once again, trying to get over the 220, but it's just having a tough time. Look at that. Look at how many times it's tried and just can't stay above it. It's making higher highs. Sure, this one you got a little bit of a blip to below, but continues to knock. Can't get over it quite just yet.
Do you have any thoughts for Apple on its earnings print?
Zero.
So you're just not even going to play that at all?
No. I'm just gonna hang tight, wait. I am kind of hoping that we get a test of 200, to be honest. But I think before we do that, you might get support found at about 207. So I would love to grab some at 200s on this one.
Real quick here, Mark, Dan, let me get to Sava here in a sec. Mark asking, what about PCSA? Mark, here's what's going on with PCSA. It's going to be this VWAP, right? This is all about the VWAP reclaim. First of all, double top here in the pre-market. We sold off from that level as soon as the market opened. This has done a pretty good job kind of holding this support area. I know it's a little janky. It represents some higher lows. Let's see if we can get above this VWAP and go. It found a nice range popping back to VWAP. Indeed, what we want to see, here we go. We are moving through VWAP. So do we keep moving here? If so, I think a 3 test is probably on deck. It's trying to get in at 225, but it bounced just shy of that. You seem to be in here pretty well. I just used that downside as your potential stop. Here we go, moving through the VWAP. Do we take out this candle here? If so, I think we're on to something here, Mark. This was a good call. And then here, this is what I wanted to read. Dan here, Sava is a $50 plus stock. In Dan's opinion, phase 3 readout towards October as investors are forward looking, considering patient testimonials have been positive, an excellent safety profile in a form of pill to treat Alzheimer's. Dan, you probably follow this more than I do. It seems like this stock has really kind of had trouble making and then holding on to its gains. There seems to be a war back and forth, maybe not just on social media, but on the internet or in this space in general. Some people call Sava a fraud. Others say it's going to really help with this terrible disease. Not one that I follow. I'm wondering where you fall on that.
Sava.
That stock moves like crazy too. Stay focused here. Good call on JetBlue, by the way. You were on that one. Guess somebody knew something about JetBlue. That thing is running. A lot of big buyers were holding this thing up. You take a look here at JetBlue. Big day here for JetBlue. 7-11 now. That actually takes us above this entire consolidation range. We're now into the supply zone where this thing traded sideways from February to April. We'll see what's next here. Stay focused. Hopefully you made money on that JetBlue call. I know you were on top of that one. Going back to you, Zunaid.
Cool. Just, again, hanging out, seeing what's happening. Nothing's really moving or breaking the levels that I would like. So, yes, once again, I've got alerts set on the bottom and on the top. You see that here. Just hanging out in the middle.
I'm seeing some breaking news here. Let me bring up Meta. Meta's not really reacting to this. This says breaking news here. We've secured a $1.4 billion settlement with Meta to stop the company's practice of capturing and using the personal biometric data of millions of Texans without the authorization required by law. Meta doesn't seem to be reacting to that. If it is, it's shrugging it off, barely down here.
Morning, Walter. Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're doing well.
Christian McCaffrey will be on the cover of Madden 25, if anyone cares.
Nice.
I know people don't draft players because of the Madden curse, so maybe that will.
Is that still a thing?
I mean, I'd have to look at the stats. I don't have the stats memorized, but generally speaking, I stay away from the Madden cover athlete. Christian McCaffrey is going to be so good, though. Hard to stay away from that ace. IMNN Smoke Tuna, did you hook a wild one here? So this actually back above 3. Watch for this to cross VWAP here, Tuna. This was really, really good bottom call. You were on top of that. We actually have the MACD histogram going positive too. If this gets above the VWAP, this could really get juiced here. Might be interested in another play here if we're able to take that VWAP out. Bob here mentioning should have just bought more Lumen and not chased RR and IMNN out of boredom. Got to avoid that chasing. So Bob, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was mentioning that, less is more, right? Like look at what this room does every single day. I can show up in the morning with no trading ideas and this room will provide more than I can possibly trade. Really what I need to realize here is that I need to just stay in my lane, trade the things that I am, accustomed to trading. Don't get overexposed or in too deep. Less is more. Remember, less is more. I would say give that a try and see if that has a positive effect on your P&L. Gosh, sorry, easy for me to say.
Yeah, you've got what's up?
No, I was go ahead.
I was just saying you've got CrowdStrike just making again new lows. So that 238 level, it said, yeah, now we good. We're gonna break that real quick and just continue into the downside.
Did you handle the Bristol-Myers question that we got?
I did not
in the chat. Okay, I'll go ahead and take a look at that here real quick. So Brittany here asking, would you guys say that Bristol-Myers, ticker BMY, is showing a cup and handle pattern when looking at the daily chart? Let's take a look at that here real quick. Here is going to be your Bristol-Myers daily chart. And I've got the volume profile. It's probably easier to see here. So So is this a cup and handle? So what you're referring to is going to be this formation right here. And this does look like maybe the start of a handle. Generally speaking, with a cup and handle, and I'd like to hear from the other technicians out there how you guys think about this. One of the things that we didn't have is we didn't have a move up and then a cup and then a handle, right? Like we had kind of a consolidation move, then we had a down move that kind of makes the cup, and now we're kind of getting the start of the handle. So I would say then, Brittany, that this is not the best cup and handle formation. Like I want to see that run up to that area, then the pullback, and then the retest of that area, and then the breakthrough, right? That's what I want. Now, with that being said, we still have that potential setup right here at, let's call it 50 to 51. This is definitely a consolidation area here. And I think you could get the same thing here. I see what you're saying about the cup and handle, but with no run up. I'd like to hear what the rest of the group, any of you folks that trade cup and handle patterns. Zune, do you trade cup and handle patterns often?
Nope, I do not.
Okay, so
do not. Patterns are not the best thing for me.
Yeah, 13 does this sometimes. I wish he was here to ask that. I would say that this setup could be better, but I see what you're looking at there. Let me know if you guys have anything on Bristol-Myers. What I'd really like here, maybe a pullback towards this 46 level and a hold there. That might complete the handle, and then we can see if we can go higher here. Let me know if that's helpful. Ryan, Nvidia and AMD have great option premiums. Selling put around the $1,000 level a month away, I think, is a good idea. Okay, so that was actually what Chris was just talking about, right? Selling some of those options. I think he was talking about buying puts and maybe selling calls, though. I don't want to misquote him. Very helpful. Thank you. Okay, awesome. So, Lion, it looks like you're trying to sell. So you think semis or chips should continue to come in. That's kind of what we've discussed from the outset here. IMNN back up to VWAP here. This might cross through it. Tuna, this was a really, really good call again. You only need one here today.
Yeah.
You only need one. You don't need 7 or 8. You only need one. Oh.
Let's
You ever
see.
sleep funny and you get that little like crook in your lower back that you spend the first half of the day
Oh
trying
yeah,
to
I'm
work
like
out?
33. You know, I mean, I can't complain because no.
All right, let's see how we're doing here. Pretty good across the board. See how FinTwit is holding up here. Is everyone fighting with each other? Everyone playing nice?
Let's see. Go back and put my charts up here.
Good question.
We'll see if NQ comes back to test this trend line, and if it breaks or if it bounces right back up from it. Especially, I'd be intrigued. I don't think it can happen anymore, but I'd be intrigued if we bounce right around here. Because you'd have the support from the previous level area, and you get the trend line there as well. Again, not a trade I'm going to take because you do have it broken earlier, and the more it knocks, the more likely it is to break. It looks like a couple of people are mentioning LUMN. Take a look at that, and woo, my oh my.
So was there news on Lumen? Because Lucy also got mentioned here. Lucy has news. Lucy has news about 20 seconds ago. Lucid Eyewear posts on X, quote, Lucid has been rated the best smart glasses for Chat GPT users, according to PC Mag. That's ticker LUCY. That is accounting for this move higher here. I would not chase this move. I would not chase this move on Lucy. By the way, shout out to Benzinga Pro and our news desk team. When you open up this headline, not only do you get the tweet, but you actually get the article referenced in the tweet. So those sources being brought to you here. That's what's going on with Lucy. Stock pop 10% here. Would not chase this move. See if this sets up, though. Looks like we've backed off that high. Went as high as 553 on that move. Wow.
Keep an eye on 273 on LUMN, as you've got resistance from all the way back in March of last year. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times it hits resistance at 273. So keep an eye on that level. And then, of course, if it does go ahead and break this area of 420 somehow, some way, you do have a gap fill all the way to $5. $5.
Sorry, handling something.
No, you're good.
else
You're good.
here
I'm
on the
keeping an eye
side.
here as well. I got to learn how to use Bookmap. I don't know. It sounds interesting to me.
One of our friends of Benzinga, Fausto Puglisi, swears by Bookmap. This is actually something we're looking to add as an add-on.
It just
Pro.
seems so tough to understand.
I think it's probably one of those things where, you know, the more you put in, the more you get out of it, right? Like if you give it the good old college effort, maybe it won't work. But if you really kind of buckle down.
Yeah, well, being a dropout, if I give a college effort.
I wasn't even trying to go there, Zuned. No idea that you dropped out, dude. Now I feel like a jerk.
Oh, no. I mean, I've, thankfully, knock on wood, been successful without it. So.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've dealt with you on a number of occasions. I would have never guessed that. So shout out to you.
Thank you.
Smoke Tuna here, giving you a little pro tip. You can use Bookmap for free with crypto, and you can learn how to use it on crypto for free. Then pay. There's Smoke Tuna.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the insights. Yeah, I might need to set aside some time to do.
I use Bookmap only on futures, both helpful and useless.
That doesn't help.
Oh, Walter, that's a funny comment, though.
All right, you've got the ES. Even though we're waiting for this, consolidation to be over, it is looking to possibly break 5,500s or use it as support. But that's an area to keep an eye on. 5,500.
All right, EA Sports continuing to trade higher here out of the open. Oh, please run into the close so that I can book part of this trade for gains and then have the earnings exposure for free, please.
You broke the nice 150 area. And there's one of my alerts. You do have Nvidia that is now touching the previous support area of 106.74. Now keep in mind, we did go ahead and come here. We bounced a little bit to BWAP, rejected. So now we're coming back to test it as well. Ryan, I've got to get ready for all access here. That's going to come up in about 15 minutes. Change my shirt, look all nice and pretty. You got the show till then?
I will drive the bus, my man. Just don't leave me hanging here. I'll see you in a few minutes.
I will be back. Yep.
Sounds good. All right, folks. This is what I'll do. I'll just lean back so I can stay centered in here. Is there a better way to do? No, you know what? We messed with this yesterday. I'm just gonna stay right here. All right. What are you folks looking at? Robert, you're taking a look at Lumen here. Let me actually go to trade the pool here and let's take a look at Lumen. I'll roll through some of these tickers with you folks. Lumen about to hit 2.7. Oh my God. Look at this ramp. Look at this ramp and this volume expansion. Okay, so Tuna, I know you had a really, really crispy call on IMNN. That was awesome. We took that. We're 1 for 1 on that. But the Lumen trade here, wow. Look at the move here. Now, was this, I know we took a look at another, was there news that came out on this one? No. So this is just trading action as this continues to ramp here. Wow. 275, not halted. Not halted. Lumen has about to hit 273. Did we print that up? Here comes the pull in Lumen. We did print that 273. Here comes the pullback. We'll see where this settles here. Yeah, remember, these are the moves you want to be selling into. You don't want to be chasing these moves. Lumen, no touch, too late to be in it. So too late to get in it, right? If you're in this right now, Tuna, you want to be selling at these levels. I agree here. Do not chase this one. Do not chase this one. We missed it. We missed it. We'll see if this comes back into VWAP and maybe sets up, but let's be disciplined about that. Let's not chase. Let's not chase. How are some of the other stocks that we were taking a look at today? How are those holding? Here's ISPO. This really didn't do a whole lot, although it didn't break down. Here's Sprouts Market, that coming in. That actually ran into that earnings report. I'm actually surprised that ran into the earnings report, beat, and then traded higher. I would have expected maybe the opposite there. Neo Genomics. Did we talk about this one recently? I feel like I brought this up recently. See Lucy after that pop here. Okay, that's repricing here and kind of consolidating. Not one that we wanted to chase. Looking around here. How's everyone's morning going? How's everyone's morning going? You guys are saying Lumen is going now to 3. There it is. So just pulled back a little bit, reset, and going for some new highs there. 286, the intraday high. 292 and 95 have size. See if it stops there. Meta pulling back a little bit more. Smita says this is lousy. Actually, here's looking like you're getting a bigger pullback here now on Lumen. What else see folks taking a look at here? Guys got anything here for potential? Look at the SPY continuing to pull here. How are the Qs holding up? Same deal right here at the lows. How's the IWM doing? That's also at the lows, but not really breaking down. Market continuing to come in here, though. SPY, we talked about that, didn't we? We talked about that green to red move. Here you go. Now you got it. Nvidia also at the lows here. All of these trades are pretty much one-offs. Easy Mike, we're going to try to make sense of it, whatever it is. Another trade setting up in IMNN. Let's take a look there. So it looks like we did pull here. I would have liked to have seen this pull a little bit more. But maybe 328 is going to be your VWAP here. Let's see if it can bounce from right here. If it holds this 305, $3 area, maybe. MACD histogram starting to compress here, though. Not what we wanted to see. We would like to see some more expansion there, frankly. I'm going to not take this for a second attempt. I feel like I'll give back my gains if I do that. ONMD, one med, that's continuing to trade higher here. J Blue on that move. Are we continuing? That's holding up here about 723. Smoke Tuna saying INMM might go lower here. We kind of feel that. Robert out Lumen, just a free runner left. Played well. Nice job scaling out of there. That's something I'd like to do more of in pretty much all of the trades. BYON, I know we talked about this being garbage here. This coming back, we'll see if it reclaims the VWAP there. Does not look like this is necessarily a turnaround for Bed Bath & Beyond, though. We shall see. Varonis. AI. How's Tesla doing? Tesla bouncing off the VWAP. There you go. How's CrowdStrike doing? We talked a lot about CrowdStrike here this morning. That looks like that sell-off kind of slowed down here. Still don't think the lows are in, though, for CrowdStrike. Lumen just shy of 3 here. Take a look at that again. Some more size there at 298. I think a 3 test is coming here on Lumen. Don't feel bad though. If you guys have booked gains on these, don't feel bad. Keep the money in your pocket. Don't give it back. We don't have a whole lot of great setups here today. Sure doesn't feel like that anyway. We'll see if the earnings gives us anything. And then remember, we got the Fed tomorrow. So we'll see what that means for everything here, especially on some of these bigger stocks. SPY only traded 8.5 million shares of volume. And we're already more than an hour into the session here. I'm not even sure we hit the average here today. See what happens in the after hours. Tilray reported earnings last night, so the pot name's higher here. Tilray, actually, this is good to see. Tilray actually taking another leg here. Let's take a look at some of those other pot names here. ACB also higher here. CGC would be one of those. That also higher here. Pot names looking pretty good. They're getting high here today. Where's Wisdom at when we need them? Where on earth is Wisdom when we need them? Yes, Robert, I am long EA. The next week's 155s. Actually, not next week. The August 9th expiry 155s. We're already up 42% on that position. Robert, I'm in it. It's small. I'm in contracts, multiple contracts, in a little bit small. But I'll tell you what, if we keep trading up here, I'm going to book some of these gains ahead of this print and then lower my exposure. I will be in for the print. Yes. Thesis here, college football 25. Enough said, right? It is literally everywhere. Got to think that is positive for the print here. Scanner is really kind of dried up here. DXCM, that was another one of those fairly decent trades. That actually moved higher here and held. For those of you that are playing this bounce back here, that was really, really good. Nice job sticking your neck out there, and you're being rewarded for that. Love to see that. Love to see that. Seeing a lot of Nvidia calls run through the unusual option activity scanner here. Maybe they're buying up this 107 area. Is this one of the levels that Chris gave us? I think he said he wanted it. What was the top put? Was that 100? 106? What was that number? Still looking around here. Sorry about that. Lumen's still going. Let's take a look at that. Oh my God, that ripped through 3, guys. Lumen gonna halt. Lion, take care of yourself. Thanks for showing up here. I know it's the summer doldrums are a little bit boring. We're close. We're close to some more heavy market action. Take care of yourself. Enjoy your summer, my man. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow.
All right.
Zunaid, you clean up nice, bro. That is a
sweet
looking shirt.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. We've got some good stuff lined up in terms of interviews. But any final thoughts from me before I go ahead and take over?
Yeah, I do want to try and give some levels here for Lumen. We got asked about that. I'm trying to get the chart up here. This is really kind of run away. So here you go. So Brittany, here's what I'm seeing here. Let me get this back up here. Let's get this. Oh, you know what? Sorry about that, Zunaid. Let's do that. Okay. So here you go with the levels. The big level here today was going to be this 260, 269. Nice. That level got smoked. We're at another resistance area here. I would say the next level up here is going to be 4. Maybe if you want to say that resistance starts at 375, maybe, but $4 to me sure seems like the next level here. So that's what we got going. We'll see here. Earnings tonight, long EA, college football. Let's go, Zunaid.
All right.
What do you got coming up here?
So we've got an awesome interview coming up. We talked about this company earlier in the show as well. You've got Dragonfly Energy. They had some good news come out, but we want to dive a little bit deeper, and especially because we want to know, hey, what does this mean for the company in the long term as well? So I appreciate you holding it down, Ryan.
I appreciate you filling in for 13. Good luck. We'll see you tomorrow.
You got it. And of course, I believe Amanda in the chat asked about earnings. We put the link in the chat. You're welcome to check that out. You've got Microsoft, Starbucks, and AMD. That's all happening today, starting off at 4:50. But like I mentioned, we're going to be talking to Dragonfly Energy, specifically Denis Phares, who is a CEO of Dragonfly Energy. Ticker on the NASDAQ is DFLI. All access starts right now. Denis, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Zunaid. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm sure you're even better with the great news that you had come out earlier today. But before we dive into that, for the folks that might not be familiar at home, give me a quick breakdown. What is it that your company does?
We're a lithium-ion battery technology company, and we do a lot because we do everything from the fundamental chemistry and cell manufacturing process development to the production of battery packs, to the sales and marketing of those packs into a number of large end markets.
Awesome. Now let's talk about the news that you dropped this morning with Triton Energy about a $30 million agreement. $5 million of that, if I read correctly, is an upfront licensing fee. Give us a quick idea of what this deal is all about.
Well, Triton Energy is a large battery company. Their historically have been a lead acid battery company. And they're obviously looking to expand into lithium. And they do have some lithium business now, but they wanted to grow faster, basically. Yeah. And they were looking for a brand. And they basically identified Battleborn Batteries as the most reputable brand on the market. They approached us. In the conversations, they realized that we were a lot more than just a brand as well. They looked at our dry electrode cell manufacturing technology, and we realized that we had a pretty significant potential for a longer-term collaboration here. So it started out with, hey, we want to use the Battleborn Batteries name. So that obviously is royalty revenue for us. At the same time, they want us to contract manufacture for them to help them with technical support. And longer term, they're interested in domestic supply of cells, and we bring that to the table as well. So it's a win-win.
Now let's break down how it works. So I mentioned the $30 million agreement. $5 million of it is upfront licensing fee, and then how does the other $25 million work? Is that just in royalties as you go ahead and provide and they sell more? Is that strictly how that works?
Yeah, that's it. It's $5 million up front, and then another $25 million as they sell using the Battleborn name. And those are just the royalties. Then there's also the contract manufacturing piece. There's also the product development piece, the technical support piece. So there's a lot of revenue streams for Dragonfly associated with this deal. Great for our liquidity, great for our revenues. But again, longer term, this really is a tremendous relationship for us, because Triton has Triton has a lot of relationships in military. They distribute, for example, to the largest retailers, places like AutoZone. They manufacture for interstate batteries. So to see the Battleborn brand in these iconic brick and mortar structures around the country is just so meaningful for us, and it's great for the brand value in general.
And then how does it help you kind of expand your presence into the new B2B end markets, particularly those that you currently aren't serving, especially globally and outside of the US?
Well, that's perfect for us, right? I mean, we weren't addressing these markets anyway. So to be able to gain some revenue to help them address these markets, and it helps us bolster the brand in the markets that we are in.
Yeah. What benefit does a deal like this bring to the company beyond just like the revenue and the license agreement? You mentioned you have the expansion globally. We covered that aspect of it. Are there any other benefits that the viewer at home might not be thinking about that you feel is going to be a good opportunity for the company long term?
Well, the long-term relationship, again, has to do with helping us develop the cell manufacturing processes to give them a domestic supply of cells. But just from a brand value standpoint, imagine how if we are so widespread and there's so much more exposure for the brand, what it means for our core markets, for the, for the direct to consumer marine markets we're in, for the RV markets, the OEM RV markets we're in, the oil and gas and heavy duty trucking markets that we're getting into. The fact that the Battleborn brand name is going to be that much more visible, obviously is going to bring value.
So oftentimes I tell the viewers, especially in an election cycle like the one that we're currently in, is that you want to find stocks, you want to find positions and sectors that are going to be beneficial no matter who wins, or if one candidate wins over the other, you can kind of get some exposure to that side as well. So for example, when you had President Biden win last time, I was kind of, exposed to the cannabis space because that, was something that was ripping. So with this election cycle that's coming up, how do you think, no matter who wins, no matter what happens, how are you well positioned as a company to continue growing? Because sometimes regulations from government can either hinder or go ahead and support you and be an asset. So no matter what happens in November, how is your company set up for success?
Well, look, there could be regulatory tailwinds. That's always a possibility. But for us, it's all about domestic manufacturing. Doesn't matter who wins. We want to bolster domestic manufacturing. We want to bring manufacturing to the United States, whether it's cells or battery packs. And that's what's going to make us all win in the end.
And then when it comes to the EV space in general, I've seen so many Teslas, a lot of my friends and families have them. However, sometimes if you don't have enough chargers out there, you kind of get stuck because you have to wait like maybe an hour to recharge your battery, and you then can get on the road versus where if you're in a gas vehicle, takes maybe about 10 minutes. How far do you think we are to where it becomes more and more common to just take maybe 10, 15 minutes to charge up your EV vehicles before you get back on the road?
Well, that's all about cell technology, right? But I have to say the focus of Dragonfly Energy has always been storage. And I think it's often overlooked. There's been so much focus on electric vehicles. Ultimately, what we're interested in is bolstering the grid, allowing for more intermittent sources of energy like solar and wind. And I think in the long run, this is going to be good for the economy as we transition to how we basically make electricity.
Got it. We've talked about so many things, especially in terms of the news that you dropped here today and the EV side of things. Anything else that you were hoping to kind of discuss today? Any other topics or things that is happening with the company that I may have kind of missed out on?
I think this deal itself, it just shows the value that the company has, not just in terms of the technology, but the brand itself. This is ultimately a brand deal. We are getting revenue because of the popularity of our brand. And obviously the revenue and liquidity are top of mind for Dragonfly Energy right now as we really start to deploy domestic manufacturing of cells.
Awesome. Well, hey, I look forward to more milestones and any other partnerships that you may have. I know you can't really speak on it, so I won't ask you and put you on the spot, but whenever they do sign on the dotted line, I hope you'll come back and have more conversations with us.
Sounds good. Thanks, Junaid.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dennis. And of course, shall we thank you as well. That was Denis Phares, who is the CEO of Dragonfly Energy. They had a big news that dropped earlier this morning, a $30 million agreement, $5 million of that in licensing fee upfront, and $25 million is going to be in royalties as they continue to sell them. Again, that's Dragonfly Energy. Ticker on the NASDAQ is DFLI. Follow along the story, see if it's worth investing your hard-earned money, and we thank you for watching All Access.